Hello and welcome back to the top tiers. Today I'm going to be looking at and ranking all of the pre-hard mode mage weapons of Terraria. I'm not going to be counting the one new weapon that was introduced in 1.4 because that hasn't come out for Xbox yet, so I can't fairly rank it. So starting off, we're going to have the Wand of Sparking in last place. This is commonly known as, of course, the worst weapon, one of the worst weapons in the game. If the Copper Short Sword wasn't in it, it would be the worst. But this thing has barely any range for a mage weapon, which is odd because most mage weapons have nearly infinite range. And although it uses very little mana, the damage compensates for that. It does very little damage, and the chance to actually light someone on fire with it is very low. Next up, I have all the gem staves. I figured I'm going to cover them all at once because they're all very similar, and I put them in order of strength here: amethyst, topaz, turquoise, emerald, ruby, and diamond being the best. Um, only a couple of them pierce, but for the most part, they all do the same thing. They all fire a very similar bolt, just different color. And the better the gem and the better the crafting components, the more damage it does. So of course you got to try to shoot for diamond, which is the best one. If you have a gold world instead of a platinum world, however, ruby is the best for you. Next up is the crimson rod. The crimson rod is almost like an kind of you place it and you just kind of forget about it weapon. It's useful really mostly during boss fights, where you get them through smashing crimson hearts. And if, say, during a boss fight with any boss, Eye of Cthulhu, let's just say, you just spawn it in, and it continuously spawns little damaging rain particles down from on anything below it. So it can help boost your DPS, and they can be helpful at clearing out smaller enemies and keeping enemies at bay during a boss fight. Next up is the Vile Thorn, which is the corruption counterpart um, of the Crimson Rod. You get it from smashing corruption orbs, and this weapon is a piercing weapon, so it does infinite pierce. So if there's 50 enemies all lined up, if they're all within the range of the weapon, which is 15 blocks, it'll pierce them all, dealing damage to them all. It can penetrate blocks, making it so you could attack people. Say if you're in a cave and you want to go down below, but there's enemies down below, you could attack them through the wall with this Vile Thorn. It has two hard mode counterparts. One of them drops from Plantera, and the other one is found in the Hollow. Next up is Magic Missile. Magic Missile spawns a little projectile that will follow your cursor around the screen, so you can guide it to attack enemies. However, while this is occurring, your character itself cannot move, so you have to get in a safe space to be able to attack. This is also good at clearing out caves and rooms of enemies like the Vile Thorn. Next up is the Aquascepter, which is a rapid fire, rapid use mage weapon. It fires a continuous stream of water that pierces enemies, and it has a very short range. But if there's a decent group of enemies together, you could pierce all of them and deal consistent damage to all of them with this weapon. Next up is the Flame Lash. And the Flame Lash are completely overhauled in 1.4, but I'm not counting those overhauls. And the Flame Lash is basically a direct upgrade to the Magic Missile. More damage, better range, better accuracy, everything like that. And it lights people on fire. So it's a very good weapon, very useful for clearing out rooms and caves. And with its decent damage, it's useful into hard mode. Next up is the Flower of Fire, which does the highest damage for any pre-hard mode mage weapon, and considerably high damage when compared to some other hard mode mage weapons. This thing can be used into hard mode. It's a very good weapon. It spawns bouncing fireballs that'll light enemies on fire, and it's totally not the fire flower from Mario. Definitely not that. Why would they do that? So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you here on the top tiers.